Welcome to Pardon the Penetration. I am Jay.
And I'm T.
What are we talking about this week?
Have you ever had that just feeling when you're like, whether it's in work or school, where you just feel like, man, do I really belong here? Like, not on some like I'm trying to quit my job, but like they're talking about stuff. You're in a meeting and you're just sitting there, you're just like, yo, like, how did I get here? Like, am I really? Does my accomplishments add up for me to be here? Do I deserve to be here?
I think I experience that when I go to conferences. Like, that's why I avoid them like the plague. But especially like the smaller ones where you actually have to interact with people. Yeah, I feel that a lot.
You're not gonna feel it at Black Hat when you go, right?
I'm going to DEF CON.
Oh, DEF CON, sorry.
Yeah, definitely would feel like an imposter. But no, because it's just like cool nerds, and you actually meet nerds that are actually like you.
Okay.
So you're not talking nerdy stuff all the time,
That's
and then
good.
we're all there to learn. But I feel when you go to those professional conferences, it's kind of like, especially when you're trying to network. So it's like they're talking, and then you're like, you're just listening, like.
Okay, is this like? Is there a part where I can jump in at?
Like you watching the waiting in the conversation like double dutch, like I should jump in here. Like I know what they're talking about here. Then it's like, nah, that was my turn.
What if it changes and you're just like, oh,
Pretty much.
right.
So that is definitely the only time I think I feel those feelings.
I felt that like in school, grad school, definitely happened in grad school. Like they're going through the discussion boards. I'm sitting up there like, yo, like what are they?
I'm the
about?
person. I already know what I'm talking about. I was just like, y'all just started. I'm gonna just put this little tidbit in here because I know what I'm talking about.
But see, had no security experience at all at that point.
Okay.
So I was definitely feeling it. And then sometimes even at work when there's like talking about stuff, I'm sitting in a meeting. I'm like, yo, like I'm smart enough
man,
to keep
I
up
know
right
what
now.
I'm talking about. I know why I'm here.
Okay,
You
so
know why I'm here.
So yeah, we seen that at different points, but we both experienced it. It's actually called imposter syndrome.
What is imposter syndrome?
So imposter syndrome is a phenomenon that occurs among high achievers who are unable to internalize and accept their success. They often attribute their accomplishments to luck rather than ability and fear that others will eventually unmask them as a fraud.
Okay, makes sense. So a lot of times when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, you'll ask yourself stuff like, do I belong here?
Right.
Like, am I good enough for this? Do I have enough skills to do this project? Am I doing this to the acceptable standard? Like, you really stress your own self out
Yeah.
with all of that stuff. So yeah.
I actually read that University of Texas at Austin was doing an actual study on it. So they were thinking that imposter syndrome plays a factor in minority students who often face discrimination and report higher rates of depression amongst their white peers. So they took a study with African American students, Latinos, and Asian students, and they broke it down. They found that each one felt imposter syndrome about the same, but the rate of depression and stuff changed. So among Asian students, they found that imposter syndrome was more related to feelings that were associated with increased depression and anxiety, but they weren't related to any racism that they perceived. As far as Black students who dealt with a significant imposterism or imposter syndrome also reported higher levels of anxiety as well as depression related to discrimination they perceived. Latino students, on the other hand, while they felt more imposter-related symptoms, they did not suffer from any anxiety or depression. Those who did suffer from anxiety or depression didn't relate it to any imposter-related feelings.
I feel like, especially for us as Black kids coming up, there was more pressure put on us, right?
Right.
So it's like you're the first one to go to school, you're the first one to really be somebody in your family.
Right.
Because now, with us being millennials, Generation Z, like we have more possibilities. Everything is more accessible to us now.
It's not playing sports get out of the hood anymore. It's like
you can actually be somebody.
Right.
You don't have to do that. So I feel like that's where a lot of our imposter syndrome kind of stems from, is because we trying to survive out here versus like maybe other minorities. It's kind of like, oh, I feel this, but it ain't no pressure.
Right. So
so a lot of these, like, a lot of imposter syndrome can be just like, it's really just like negative thoughts, like starting to like manifest himself. Like you really start to believe all this bad stuff about yourself, and then you start to really believe it
Yeah,
yourself.
you hinder your progress.
Yep. So it's like the self doubt and the sheer inability to like acknowledge your accomplishments. Like it just goes into like this never ending cycle of like underselling yourself and your abilities, not putting yourself forward in roles that you know you're capable of doing just because you lack confidence, and shying away from speaking up in front of others, even though you know what you're talking about.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely ways that imposter syndrome manifests itself.
So while I was researching this, because I just thought imposter syndrome was just one thing. I didn't realize there was like 5 different types of imposter syndrome. I was just like, whoa, some of them hit home, some of them didn't.
I was triggered.
You triggered?
Very. Like I know what imposter syndrome was, but I didn't know they had like different types of imposters.
Right.
And then I was just like, "Is this me?" I was like, "Nah, that's not me." I was like, "Oh yeah, this definitely me."
I seen that happen. Like seen that in the setting when I felt imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So there are 5 types. The first one is a perfectionist. So the perfectionist goes hand in hand with imposter syndrome. Self-doubt can begin to set in when they start to fail at obtaining any goals. They set these really, really high goals for themselves. And at the moment when they can't achieve them, that's when they start feeling like, oh man, like I'm not worth this. I don't know what I'm doing. My accomplishments mean nothing. Even when they achieve success, they rarely feel satisfied because they felt like they could have done better.
So ways to know if you exhibit these perfectionist imposter type traits is, have you ever been accused of being a micromanager? Do you have difficulty delegating tasks? Like, you feel like you're the only one that could do this correctly. Also, when you miss like a high mark on something, do you accuse yourself of like not making the cut? Ways to help overcome this perfectionist imposter syndrome type traits is to learn that mistakes are all a part of your stride, like viewing this as a part of the process, like
Right.
trust your own journey, like nobody's perfect.
Not at all.
So definitely ways to combat being a perfectionist. Realize different strokes for different folks. It's all a part of your journey.
So the next one I came across was either the Superwoman or Superman. So they often push themselves harder and harder to measure up. The work overload may impact their mental health as well as relationships, and they are typically workaholics, and they attribute, the validation that comes from working.
Okay. Ways to know if you have Superwoman/Superman imposter syndrome traits. Do you stay after work late after the rest of the team has left? Do you get stressed out when you're not working or find downtime wasteful? Have you left your hobbies and passions by the wayside?
Wow.
And do you feel like you truly haven't earned your title, even though no matter what you do, how hard you're working, you feel like you're not worthy? Most of these Superwoman/Superman type imposters, they tend to be workaholics, and
Right.
they're really addicted to the validation of their work.
Yeah.
So ways to overcome this is learn to have internal validation for the things that you do, right? Nurture your inner confidence. Like, stop seeking outside validation, because at the end of the day, no matter if you work 60, 80 hours a week for that job that someone's only working 40 hours a week, if something happens to you from working yourself out, they're gonna replace you probably the next month.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Oh, that was
definitely
sad. They're gonna send you a little get well card if you're
not if you 6 feet under,
Not if
bro.
you
Like,
6
some
no.
roses won't do nothing.
They'll send it to your family, and then boom, next day it's just gonna keep
Pretty much.
going
So
like it never happened.
yeah, so definitely let go of external validation.
Okay, so one of the other ones was a natural genius. So they have expectations like the perfectionist, but they only judge themselves based on if they get it right the first time. They judge themselves based on their competence level and the speed that they can get it done at. They feel like if they're taking too long to master a subject, that they feel shame, that they're not adding up to what they could do.
Okay. Ways to know if you have these natural genius traits would be is, are you used to excelling without like little effort, right? Were you always getting like straight A's and the gold stars? Were you the person in the family that they were saying, you're the smart one in the family, you're the smart one in the group. Like, he
Right.
knows everything. You might also dislike having a mentor because you don't want to be told what to do. So ways to move past the natural genius imposter syndrome is to try seeing yourself as a work in progress, right? Remember, just like the perfectionist is all a part of your journey.
Right.
So this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Understand that accomplishing great thing involves, like, lifelong learning, lifelong skill building. We ain't gonna get everything right the first time. If you do, kudos to you,
Right.
but don't put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah, especially in InfoSec, we're constantly learning. Everything's changing. New
Yeah, pretty
technologies
much.
coming out, new vulnerabilities. So another one that they had was called the Soloist. They feel like asking people for help exhibits their phoniness, and they need to realize that it's okay to be independent. To be dependent, but they also need to, not to the extent where they refuse assistance from others. They need to, be able to ask for help at some time.
Okay. Ways to know if you are a soloist. Imposter would be, do you firmly feel that you can accomplish things on your own? You the type of person like, I don't need nobody's help. Do you frame your requests and requirements for the projects instead of just saying that I need help? And like Trent said, the best way to combat this would be
Is just to realize it's okay to ask for help. Like, it's cool to be dependent, but you need to ask for help sometimes.
there is no I in team.
No.
Teamwork made the dream work, man.
Yeah.
You can't do everything by yourself. Unless you are an entrepreneur, then be great.
The last one I came across was the expert. They measure their competence based on how much and how much they know or can do, and not knowing enough will expose them as being inexperienced or unknowledgeable.
Ways to know if you are an expert imposter would be, do you shy away from applying to jobs unless you meet like every single requirement? Are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications because you think you need to improve your skills? Even if you're been in your role for some time, you still feel like you don't know enough.
Right.
And do you shudder when someone say that you're expert in something? So ways to overcome this expert imposter syndrome would be to start practicing just in time learning. Like even though I feel like that's kind of hard for like infosec and tech, because you
Okay.
kind of really need to make sure that you're on it.
Right.
So I feel like tech kind of gives us this type of imposter syndromes.
Yeah.
But yeah. Which one do you think you related to the most?
I was between two. So natural genius definitely stuck out to me when you were talking about, hey, it's your family, say that you're the smart one. I'm like, yeah, I remember growing up like, oh, Trent's in this class, Trent's doing this, Trent's making these good grades. And then also the soloist, like I'm used to, doing things on my own. So it's like, I like to make sure that I get it done. I do ask for help though. So my boss has been like, yo, you ask for help too much. You know this, but I'm a soloist. That's the part that I like to be independent.
Okay. When I was reading this, I was like, dang, I'm triggered. I'm like, am I this? Am I that? I was like, nah, I did not relate. But I would definitely say between the superwoman
Okay.
and the expert, I'd be giving off those imposter vibes. But for the superwoman, it's not a validation thing for me. It's just like, I'm so used to working
Right.
that's the only thing that seems natural.
Okay.
And then with the expert, it's kind of like, I really do want to stay on top of my game. It's like,
right. Well, you have to because you're in compliance. So you.
yeah. And it's like, I feel like if I learn this thing, that will save us some money because I already know what we're doing, right?
So that's why you wouldn't got the other certification.
I gotta stay ready, so I have to get ready, man.
So how do we face our imposter feelings?
Ways for you to overcome imposter feelings would be to accept that you have some role in your success. Like, because of you, you are great.
Right.
Sometimes we feel like frauds because we're unable to internalize our successes. We're given an opportunity that others aren't. Like, you are in your space because you are great. So accept that you did this. You studied for that exam. You got that job. You are great.
Yeah, you did play your hand in this. You did something to get here.
Pretty
So,
much.
One that I came across was talk to your mentors. If you don't have a mentor, go out, find one, great resources. Talking to them, you can actually find out that they may have had, earlier in their career, they may go through the same thing of feeling imposter syndrome, and they'll let you know it's normal, but it's irrational, hold you back.
Okay. And most likely, your mentor is someone that is, they've been in the game a little bit longer. So, they can put you on.
Right.
They can help you. They can tell
Can
you.
put you in the game, Ghost?
Definitely. Like, tell me, let me understand. But also the another way to overcome imposter syndrome would be focus on providing value, right? Even though, yeah, we in a room full of quote unquote experts, not everybody knows something.
No.
Not everybody knows everything,
Right.
right? And we each have our niches. Like I can go to you for vulnerabilities, you can come to me for compliance and stuff. So it's just like you bring something to the table.
Right.
Just so find a way to help somebody that will help you feel like, dang, maybe I do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just to piggyback on it, you know, you can also go out, you can tutor some people, you can go out working with them, you can find younger students, and then you can realize how far you come and the knowledge that you have to impart. So then that way that gives you that self-validation that, hey, you know, I actually do know what I'm talking about and I can communicate it to someone else. That's the best way to know that you know something is to be able to teach someone else.
Yeah, when you able to teach somebody, definitely.
Yeah.
Also you can try keeping a file of nice things that people say about you. Like, I don't have a file, but I definitely remember, like, my mentor said this about me. My boss said this
Right.
about me. Somebody gave me this compliment. Like, Jay, you really that person, girl. Don't doubt yourself. But if that works for you, keep a file, keep a screenshot, write it down in your journal, do something. But helping a lot of imposter syndrome is helping, your own confidence in yourself.
Yes, definitely building that self-confidence. So while you're remembering that what nice things people are saying about you, remember what you do well. You know, make a realistic assessment of your abilities. Also, take notes and see what you're good at. See what you may need work on, and then judge it from there.
Yep. The next one is to stop comparing yourself to that person.
Oh boy.
As I said, different stroke for different folks,
You're right.
man. What somebody else is good at, you may not be good at. They have this, you have that. It's just not your time.
Right,
Trust your journey.
Yeah, your journey is not their journey, and vice versa.
Pretty much. So don't compare yourself to others, because that's the biggest way to get yourself messed up in life, not only career. But don't compare yourself to other people.
Yeah. Realize that no one is perfect. Stop looking at the perfection and trying to get that task done to the T, perfect all the time. You want to work on doing it well, and then realize the fruit of your hard labor and appreciate that. Like, hey, that was rough. It wasn't perfect, but I did my thing there.
That's right. Remind yourself. Along with that, I don't know about this one. I wouldn't do this personally because I'm a private person,
Right.
but expose yourself totally. So a lot of times, especially on social media, you follow all these people, even celebrities. Like if you expose yourself to say, dang, I really been feeling down,
Right.
or I failed this certification test, like you realize other people go through the same things you go through.
Right.
People can empathize with you. So when you expose yourself, it will help you feel like you're not so much a fraud, unless you're really out here doing fraud stuff.
Right.
But exposing yourself will definitely help people relate to you.
we put people on such a high pedestal as far as like celebrities and people that's in industry that we don't know what they go through every day, and being able to see them vulnerable makes it seem like they are human and they go through what I can go through, and we have that level of commonality.
Pretty much.
This was a big one. Change your way of thinking.
Amen. Say that. Say it one more time.
Change your way of thinking. When you're sitting down and you're going through a task, we may want to spend 10 hours doing it. We want to get it knocked out and all in one go. It could take 10 hours. What if we just sat back and we chipped away at it slowly and slowly, and then we can put that little effort here, and we can tune it here, here, and here, and you'll realize that you appreciate it much more. Send your friend a rough draft. Like, send me a copy of your paper so I can read over to see if it was good, even though it's not perfectly.
I got 5 to send to you right now.
You got
man.
5 to send to me right now.
I
You
got
can
5 to send to you right now.
When do you need it by? That's so
tonight.
Tonight, jeez. And then doing this also help break down any superstitions you may have that will fuel your imposter syndrome.
All right. So that is definitely a good one. They do say when you change your mind, you change your life.
Yeah.
So definitely adapt that. And along with that, another way is to treat it like a business, treat it like an experiment. When they say, it's business, it's not personal.
Yeah, keep your personal feelings out of it.
Yeah, so you get detached from it. So you don't have to feel like you need to be this perfectionist. You don't have to be this expert. Like,
right.
It is what it is.
All right, and the last one I had was talk to someone who can help, which is big. You can go seek a therapist. You may think, oh, I'm crazy. No, you're not crazy. People go through things. People feel different type of ways. And sitting down with them and talking about how you're feeling in these different type of situations, you find out, it could be imposter syndrome. And they could break down some of these things that we're talking to you now give you a better understanding of how to combat it.
Pretty much, especially if it's somebody in the industry.
Yeah.
They already know what you're going through. I think the last one I have, once again, don't know how I feel about this one, but it said faking things actually works.
So you're not gonna put out a disclaimer that Jay told y'all to
No.
fake it?
This is full disclaimer. Jay ain't tell you to go out there and be fake, but there's times when we're in rooms where you see people with these high titles or they've been in the industry longer. They really don't know nothing.
Right.
Like, they really been faking it.
Yeah. Well, if I think that also could help with if you know it, but you're not really too confident, you can fake your confidence in it. Where you know it, but you're not that confident to speak. If you fake your confidence, then you can kind of just swing.
It's kind of like getting where you fit in, man.
Yeah.
But like I said, we see people fake it all the time. But like I said, don't go out there being fake and said I told you to be fake.
Oh, I'm blaming you first round.
If you really do start like maybe faking it, those feelings manifest. You might actually start believing your own BS that you fake it, and you actually turn into that person. So give it a shot. Let me know. Don't say I told you to do it though.
All right. I think that's all we have. Do you have any church announcements?
No church announcements.
I didn't really have any, but I did see that UCF posted that they had a boot camp that was starting August 19th for coding and big data analytics. So they have in-person and online. So go ahead and sign up. You're interested in coding, UX, whatever it is. Go ahead and do it. Go get that bag.
Go ahead and get that bag, but just remember that USF is still the superior school.
Always and forever.
All right. That's about it. So I'm Jay.
I'm T.
That's it.